thing about page count, as you guys have seen me talk about before, is that it's all about the read. It sucks because you would think, well, it's your job as a producer or an executive to like to read. But most people don't. I don't know how many times I have to say that. Most people don't. They don't want to read your 120, 125, 130, 140, 150 page screenplay. Nobody wants to do that. All of the people who usually get those kind of screenplays made are people who are already in the business. And so people probably aren't reading them anyway. They're just greenlighting and let them go, because they already know what they're going to get from those people. If you write a 150 page script and someone reads it and makes it, great for you. But if no one will read it, ask yourself if it's your ego that's saying, well, it can't be told in less pages. It can't. Are you sure? So your job as a writer is to try to understand what budgets look like in connection to your script, right? Like a producer's job is to read your script and figure out what the budget is. That's their job. You're a better writer if you know how much that budget is going to be, because now you can make those decisions, especially if you're like, oh, well, I want to send this script to such and such production company. What size budget films or shows do they make? Because if you send them something that's way out of their budget, then we know that you didn't do your research. They don't even make stuff that big. It's not because they don't want to. You know what I'm saying? That's not what's in their budget to do. So then you know, okay, I wrote this thing. It's probably for this kind of production company because they have a budget that fits that. And that's the kind of stuff that they make. You know, I always say, don't send stuff to people if that's not the stuff they make. Don't send stuff to people if that's not the stuff they make. If they make action movies, do not send them your comedy. Stop it. Can I legally write a part 2 for a popular movie and then copyright it? You cannot legally use someone else's characters. Now, as a spec, you can write whatever you want to write. If you decide that you're going to do something with it, you have to go get the rights. It becomes a legal thing. So I would suggest you ask an attorney. That's not me, but you can ask an attorney. But again, spec wise, you can do what you want because it's at your house on your computer. The moment you decide to do something with it, you got to make sure that you have the permissions and the rights. And how many scenes are between first plot point and the midpoint? Not about how many scenes are between plot points and midpoints. So it's not about first plot point and midpoint. And I don't even want you to think about it as plot points, because when you start thinking about it as plot points, then you get all tied up in what the plot is, and really plot and character inform each other. So I'm just going to say it this way. Don't count scenes. Don't count plot points. Look at the beats, right? So the question is, what is your character doing until the midpoint? However many scenes it takes you to get there, as long as they are actively trying to reach their goal. And the point of whatever it is you're writing is that somebody is trying to reach a goal or solve a problem. The midpoint breaks up the monotony of them trying to reach the goal and failing and trying and failing and trying and failing, which is why I call it the trial and error. However many scenes you decide to write that don't start to get monotonous, because the point of having act structure is that we're on a roller coaster like this, right? But if we have a bunch of try-fail for like 100 minutes, then now it starts to be like this. And that's monotonous too. I'm currently writing with someone who is a first-time director. In our script, I see that for action lines, there are director's notes. Are action lines supposed to include that? If he's the one directing it, you can have whatever you want in there. If you have to write it and sell it to somebody first before he directs it, take all of that out. Take it out. Take it out. Take it out. Take it out, and take it out now, because the point is somebody else has to read it and enjoy reading it to know what it is, and they don't need your notes in the way. It's the same thing if I decided to let you borrow one of my books and my books have notes all in the margins. Now you're distracted. It doesn't mean that those notes aren't fantastic notes that I was writing to myself, but that's just the point. I was writing them to myself. They're not for you or anybody else, but you decided you wanted to read my book. I decided I would let you borrow it, and now you're distracted by my notes. Now, if y'all are making it yourself, you're the writer, they're the director, do whatever you want with the script. When you do decide to go into production and now other people have to see it, the other departments, the actors and blah, 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 get those notes out of there. Actors don't need those notes. Depending upon what the notes are, other department heads might need the notes. That's up to you to figure out. But actors don't need those notes. Executives don't need those notes. Producers don't need those notes. They just want to read the script. Can you think of any scripts where the antagonist is initially framed as the protagonist, not just a member of the hero's team who turns out to be the villain? Now let's make sure we're using the words protagonist and antagonist correctly for me, because a lot of people think that that protagonist means good guy and antagonist means bad guy, and it doesn't. Protagonist means that's the person I'm rooting for to win, even if what they want to do is something bad. And the antagonist is the person who's standing in the way of the protagonist doing what they want to do, even if the antagonist is good. Going back to Breaking Bad, the protagonist is the bad guy. He's the drug dealer. His antagonist is not the CIA, whoever the people are who deal with drugs. Those are the bad guys. I'm not sure if I can think of any scripts where the protagonist is the person I'm rooting for and then they suddenly become the person I don't root for. No, then that means they weren't my protagonist. Now, how would you put the smirk smile example from Power in an action line? Would you allude to it meaning more? No, don't allude. Don't give away the reveal. I'm so glad you asked. I need to read the story like it plays out. Okay. The only thing that's going to be giving things away for me is the fact that in the scene heading, you could tell me it's a flash forward or a flashback. And when someone's watching it, they may not know until they know, right? You might, be using camera angles or using things that says reveal and the audience is not getting it that same way, right? But I'm reading the story as if I'm watching it. Don't give it away. Just have the smirk happen, have the smile happen, and get out of the scene. Did you ever encounter studio notes that stated a project was essentially too black? No, never. No, never. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but no, never. But with that being said, that's why it's your job to know where you're submitting your stuff. We can't be so thirsty that we submit our stuff to a place. Your job is to do that research. Your job is to know what studios make what production companies make what networks make what. CBS would like to be more diverse now, but generally speaking, not very diverse. Why would I send them something blackity black, black, black? Why would I do that? It could be too black for them because it's too black for their audience. Because their audience is of a certain age, of a certain race, and lives in a certain part of the United States, and they're not trying to look at blackity black, black, black stuff. So even if I do send something over to CBS with a black lead, then it still has to be able to fit the kind of stuff that they make there. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that you have to consider before you send your stuff out. You can't just be like, oh, I just want it to get made. I can just send it anywhere. No, it has a place where it can live. Have you heard of any changes in the marketplace for writers since the strike ended? Are studios buying specs? Studios are always buying specs. Stop believing people when they say that they aren't. Studios are always buying specs. Always. Of course, the ones that you're going to hear, the scripts that you're going to hear about are the big IP ones because they're big grabbers of attention. But people, they're always buying specs. Whether that happens in greater numbers or not can just change. You know what I'm saying? But people are always buying specs.
And that's it. Want more content? Like, subscribe, and for notifications. Get notes on your script that get you unstuck at www.theprofessionalpen.com. I'm out.